So how's it going?
It's going all right. Yeah, it's going great. Drinking my coffee.
Weathering out the apocalypse.
Oh yeah. Hopefully we're almost towards the tail end of that.
Hope so, man.
I mean, I feel like we're at the midpoint now. Like this is like the middle of it. Like we're in the eye of the storm right now.
Do you remember when everything was first starting? I feel like everyone just thought it was gonna last like a month. At most.
Yeah. No. I feel like, well, if you think about it, when I remember when we had those cases, and I don't remember if it was Seattle or just Washington State or like exactly. No, it was Washington, but I forget exactly where. But we're like, oh yeah, it's in a little bit of the West Coast. It's like, who cares? It's not gonna. We're way out here, and it's not gonna affect us. And then I remember going to work, and somebody not talking to me. I just overheard someone said, "Oh yeah, some kid had it at some school. I think it was like Lancaster or Worcester, Ohio, like not in Columbus, but nearish." And I was like, oh, whatever. One person has it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And then next thing you know, like that. I feel like that weekend was the weekend that everything got shut down.
It's always like it was kind of that case where you always assume that it's gonna happen to someone else or some other country, and like, how could it happen here?
Yeah.
I remember I was on a backpacking trip actually right before that. And actually, like, two of us who were on that trip had been sick recently, but we didn't really think anything of it. Yeah. But after I got back, like, I remember we had a class like right before the shutdown, and I was getting all like freaked out. I don't know, it just like all hit at once. And
I feel like that Friday before the shutdown is when we went axe throwing, right?
Yeah.
So like we were out, and it was already weird. Like it was already like. It felt like a Twilight Zone-y kind of vibe outside, but we weren't wearing masks at that point.
We were like spraying down the beers, I think, and like kind of being careful about sharing food and stuff. But
I remember like already starting to get addicted to like rubbing my hands in like sanitizer and alcohol at that point. It was like, but yeah, I don't think we were wearing masks, or maybe we were. I don't remember.
No, I don't think we were.
We weren't? Okay. I guess no, because I could look back at the photos and stuff. We didn't have masks on.
Yeah.
It was just, and now it's like Now it's a political thing and like whatever.
Yeah, like why? Well, Taiwan never had to close. Like my mom immigrated from Taiwan like 30 years ago.
Okay.
Or I guess it's like 50 years ago now.
at tag of 20 out of that.
Yeah. But it's like, I don't know, it's so weird seeing other countries that have just been back to normal for so long.
Yeah. Well,
but what can you do?
It's because we never actually like had official we never, like the amount of people that are here never, like the percent of the population didn't take this thing serious.
Yeah.
Like a percent of the population that need to. But I don't know. Who am I? I'm not a scientist or a doctor. Or
yeah. Well, it's weird how quickly we like adapt to stuff like that too, though. Like,
as far as just like
getting used to it and like kind of building new routines and stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, immediately. Like a lot of the stuff that we fill our time with is just like pseudo stuff. Like it's not helping us or society. It's just like, I don't know. I mean, I spend I would say too much time on Instagram. I don't spend, or like social media in general, mostly Instagram, but I personally feel like there's people that spend way more time than I do. I feel like I spend like a moderate amount of time on there, but it's still too much. Like I don't need to spend all that time on there.
Yeah, you mean like especially with the shutdown, or just
like especially with the shutdown, but just even in general in life, just like probably more so. I actually reinstalled Facebook on my phone because after the shutdown happened, I still don't use it that much. Mostly what I use Facebook for is remembering birthdays and stuff like that.
Yeah. Facebook, I need to like always remind myself not to look at Facebook at night because I mean, a lot of my friends are like, they post a lot of stuff about the world, and it can get kind of depressing sometimes. And it's like, I need to just ignore that when I'm trying to fall asleep.
Yeah,
But
no, for sure.
yeah, I don't know. It's
yeah.
weird.
This year has been. I remember. So my birthday is coming up in a week. I remember last year for my birthday we met up over at Seven Sun Brewing, and
Oh yeah.
we did like a little bit of documentation about what I had in store for this year, what I was planning, and
Yeah.
this being my big 40th birthday, and
You had
feel
some
like,
big plans.
yeah, I feel like when the pandemic happened, I was like, oh, well, I'll just put some of that training on hold and just wait for that month to happen, and then I'll get back into my routine. And then month 2 came, month 3, month 5, month how many? I don't know, month 100. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
What is time even?
Yeah, no, exactly. Actually, on the way over here, there was on the radio. I was listening to the radio, and they had a linguist on there, like dealing with like punctuations and that, like grammar and that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
one of the things they say, like when new things happen, people make up words or use new words in a different way. And a new word that they made up for pandemic time was Blur's Day. I've never heard that before, but it's like, yeah, I don't know, it's Blur's Day when I did that. Yeah. Who
Yeah,
cares
that's
what
so
day
true.
it is?
I mean, March, I feel like, was so slow, and then I feel like it just instantly became September. Like,
I know, like it's already like.
I feel like the universe owes everybody an extra year. Like,
No, yeah, this year is definitely a wash.
Yeah,
But, yeah. So, needless to say, a lot of the stuff I plan on doing is not gonna happen. One of them was to compete in the MMA, which is probably never gonna happen now because I plan to do it this year because A, just to like push myself. B, it's like I'm getting older and I don't want to be competing when I'm
yeah, right.
that old. But I feel like, yeah, whatever. That this year is a wash, so that's probably not gonna happen in my life.
Right.
And obviously, I'm not a professional MMA fighter, so if there would be any purse, it would be like not even enough to pay for a trainer. So
It's just, yeah, that's more a personal
yeah,
goal.
no, yeah, 100%. It's not like a get rich quick scheme. I'm gonna go fight. I don't know any. I don't even know who's in my weight class. Right now I'm probably too heavy to fight where I would feel comfortable at fighting at anyways.
Right.
I plan to rank up in my Balintawak, my stick fight, my Filipino stick fighting. That didn't happen. That training kind of went on hiatus. Luckily, City Wing Chun pivoted real quick and was able to do online training and stuff. And
It's that adaptation.
yeah, exactly. But what I did instead of my plan was to hopefully at the end of this year get my second level. End of this year, beginning of next year, get my second level technician, which wouldn't necessarily mean anything to anyone who's not in the Wing Chun WT world, but it's a next rank up. But instead of what I have done with my training is I actually started over. Not start over, but I like went back to the day one stuff and like building from the beginning over and just trying to look at that with a different set of eyes and coming in there with not completely blind, but having like a little bit of knowledge
For sure, yeah.
of what's already like, and I don't know, just being able to look at it differently and with.
Do you think it's worth it? Like, is it better to, you think, like, progress through the different things first and then go back, or do you think it makes more sense to like try and perfect the fundamentals first?
Both.
And then both? Yeah.
Both, yeah. So
Because I feel like the traditional way of learning, they like crawled through a lot of the basics.
yeah,
like,
no, for sure, definitely. But I would say both. So I would say just and I dealt with this problem. I did not listen to this advice I'm going to give you. I would say because Kung Fu essentially means achievement through hard work.
Yeah.
So if you do, say, typical person does like 2 hours of Kung Fu a week, a little bit more like someone that's a little more dedicated does like 4 hours a week, and then even more dedicated will do like 4 hours a week in class, and then do 4 hours a week, and so on and so forth. The more classes you attend, those are the things that you're learning, and you're going through the system. Like you learn this, learn that, learn this, learn that. But then that thing that you learned today in class, keep drilling that forever.
Yeah.
And getting better, and then the more you drill it, the more you can have better questions. Like you do any given technique, drill it, and then a month later you're like, this feels weird about it, and why is this? Or like the questions will come to you better than if you just do that one day. You're kind of overwhelmed with what question to ask, and it's like, I mean, I have all the questions. I don't have a question.
Right. It's just one nebulous.
The whole thing is a question. Versus like if you have a chance to like go through it and get comfortable-ish with it, then you can go back and be like, all right, this is a solid question that I have about this. Whether it be like how to execute this technique, why is this technique preferred over, or just you can have that solid question.
That makes sense. Well, I feel like one problem I have is like and this is kind of something that applies more broadly in life too, but it's like if I have the structure there to train, like there's no problem. Like I feel like when I'm actually in class, like I'm happy going hard, like during fight class and stuff. Those are super rigorous workouts, but I really love it. But it's like without that structure of a class, like if I'm just here at home, it takes so much effort for me to push myself to actually do it.
Well, that's one of the things that I started doing is like I showed you that timer thing that I have, interval timer, and I'll just like set those things up, and I'll be like, all right, this is what I have to accomplish every day.
Yeah.
And then you do it for a month, and then you can either change it up or you can add something to it, but just have like it doesn't have to be like a 3-hour session, but just if you have an hour of minimum stuff or whatever, half an hour of minimum stuff that you have to accomplish every day. And this can be just like training like a routine, or just like going through a form every single day for a half an hour of time. Even if you finish the form in 5 minutes, then you just repeat it. Okay. Repeat it. And just having, like, this is something I have to do 100 push-ups, 50 push-ups every day, no matter what. Yeah. Every day. I don't feel like I'm tired and whatever. Just do that and just get through it.
That's something I've been doing more recently. So I went camping, like, I think it was 3 weeks ago now. And I've been trying to ride that wave of being a morning person. It's definitely dwindling now, but like I've been at least trying to like get up and do some workouts before like kung fu class whenever I have that in the morning. And yeah, it's like it's funny how easily you're able to adapt to something like that when you actually build a new routine.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I also sometimes wonder, like, am I doing enough? Because on the one hand, like, when people do exercises, they're only doing, like, maybe 3 sets of, like, 8 to 10 reps or whatever, right? Yeah. But,
I mean, you have to do enough where you feel accomplished.
Yeah.
And then push, like, enough. Usually when enough that you feel accomplished is, like, you pushing yourself. Yeah. It's not just doing, I can do 10 push-ups.
Yeah.
So I just do 10 push-ups. It's like, I can do 10 push-ups, so I'm going to try to do 12. I'm going to try to get to the fact where I'm at 12, where I can do 12, and I can just do 12. That's what I do.
I've noticed that, like, sometimes it's hard for me to get myself to do the minimum, but once I do the minimum that I've set for myself, like, because everything else is, like, extra credit, it's actually kind of really fun to do that.
So that's what I'm saying. If you have that minimum, a lot of times, say you have a routine, whatever that routine is, it leads up to like a half an hour of training every day. And then you're like, okay, today I did my half an hour, and let me get another 20 minutes in, another 15 minutes in.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have to stop at that. That's not a hard stop. That's your start line.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where you start from. You start from that whatever 10 minutes, if it's 10 minutes to start at, and then once that 10 minutes becomes like routine, it's not a big deal, then push it a little bit, do 15, 20,
For sure.
30, and keep going from there. And it could be timed, or it can be reps.
Which do you prefer? Because I
was doing some things. I do like reps, like push-ups or sit-ups, and that way I can break it up throughout my day. I can do like 20 push-ups here. I have time to do like 20 push-ups. I have in between here I can do 10 push-ups real quick. Like,
yeah.
So I'll try to get like 100 push-ups every day. But then actually, my seafood Alex pointed out at the beginning of the pandemic is like a lot of things he does for time, so his brain isn't doing extra work counting the reps. It's just he sets a timer and just does whatever, even if it's like I'll do push-ups for 30 seconds.
Yeah. I feel like
set that timer. I do my 30-second push-ups, and then you've done 30 seconds. You don't know. I mean, necessarily.
Right.
You done. I don't know. You did 30 push-ups. You did 40. You did 20. You don't really know. You did 22. However many push-ups you've done, but it's like you've done 30 seconds of push-ups.
Yeah. I feel like psychologically, both can be like. Sometimes it's about finding that psychological trick where it's like if you're doing sets, like when I first started doing my workout in the morning and trying to knock it out, like I have a day where I try to do like 3 sets of 20 plus push-ups and then like 5 or however many pull-ups or whatever. But it's like you knock one set out and you're like, I'm already like a third of the way through. And it's like you just find those little gaps of time to...
Yeah, I mean, with that being said also, so one of the other things I was planning on doing for my birthday was to run a marathon. But obviously, since you can't have large groups of people, they cancel the marathon. The marathon was supposed to be like in like October 12th or something, 20th, something like that. So instead, when I was like, they canceled it, I guess I could just run a marathon by myself on my birthday.
Now you're running a marathon for you and the people who would be there.
Yeah, so now what I'm going to attempt to do is to run a complete 40 for my 40th birthday, so 40 miles. And at one point I was like, I should just switch it to Ks. Do 40 Ks. And I was like, hey, 40 Ks is still not like, it's not cheating, but
wasn't it originally like you were gonna do it for a certain amount of time, or?
Yeah, well,
I guess that's
the time I gave you was just like, this is what I guesstimate. So when I told you the time, it was just like, this is about how long that I think.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the other way around.
No.
Okay.
It was. I had looked at the distance and be like, all right, if I can keep my pace at like 10 and a half, 11-minute miles, which for my normal runs, that's really slow, but I'm going to try to pace myself so I can pace the whole way as much as I can. So yeah, it's I'll probably be dead the day, like literally, not figuratively, but I'll probably die. So, or purge or throw up all over the place. So if you see
there's gonna be a trail of vomit.
So if you see that around Columbus on next Wednesday, September 30th, next Wednesday, I don't know when you guys are gonna see this or hear this, but September 30th, 2020, there's gonna be a trail of vomit around Columbus. But and that's just also me being an idiot and as far as, but it's the idea of pushing myself. It's like I don't know if I can run a marathon even. I've never actually ran a marathon. So I don't even know if I can run a marathon and then add 14 miles to that, give or take. But so,
man.
That's so a marathon is basically a marathon and a half, give or take.
That's rough. I don't know. I have very much a love-hate. Actually, it's more of a hate-love relationship with me.
The hate is the former.
So that's nuts. But I don't know. Have you done anything like this before? Like anything?
No, I mean, not to this extreme. No. Like even a year ago was the first time I did a 5K race. Like actually like signed up and did a 5. So it was a year ago, November.
Well, wait. So before all this, had you even run? Because now you're running like 10 miles or more.
No, I think the most I have at least tracked was I want to say it was like 8 miles. So a 10K, the most I ever had tracked. And honestly, at the end of that 10K, I ran from my apartment to City Wing Chun, and I had class. Oh, that was like one of the hardest classes. I was like trying to do stance work, and it was like my legs were like, every time we had a break, I just like fell down and collapsed. I tried to play it off cool. I'm pretty sure Sifu Alex was teaching that class. Didn't want to look like a complete lame in front of him, so I was trying so hard to oh yeah, my legs were on fire, and that was right around the time right before I switched to barefoot shoes. So right before, so my knees were
they were hurting.
They were hurting. Like now that I wear like they're not obviously, I don't run barefoot, but they're like minimal shoes. Basically, I'm just running with a piece of rubber on the bottom of my foot. No knee pain, but what I do get sometimes is like calf and shins. Oh. Like my legs that are doing the work actually are on fire.
Yeah,
when I'm done. But at least it's a different. It's not like a pain. It's like I overworked these muscles today.
Right.
Kind of.
It's a good. I mean, that's like. I feel like the fundamental principle of existence is like the pain you feel from that sort of thing is almost like gratifying.
Yeah, for sure. But sometimes it's like, so one of my training routines was to do a long run and then a long run. So I mean, long is relative. So I did a half a marathon one day, and then I did a 10K the next day, which.
Yeah, right.
I mean. But back to back. So not before I was doing I would push it to a 10K and then run 2 miles the next day, just so I can keep running. But
yeah,
that the day after that 10K, I felt like I ended up having to wear menthol patches on my legs. Like all of my legs were just covered in menthol patches. It's just
well, so what's your philosophy on running? Because I mean, obviously, you were doing that double long distance thing, but generally, I mean, say you're not training for this, do you try and hit a certain distance, or are you? Because I found recently, granted, I'm only running a couple miles usually, but I found that sometimes psychologically it's easier to get myself out there if I almost don't worry about setting a certain minimum, and I just run for the fun of it.
Well, it's odd because since I decided to do this thing, I've been using Nike Run Club.
Yeah.
And I was using it before, and they actually changed the format. Before it was just you go out for a run, and then at the end of the run they tell you how many miles you did or how much your time. And all. But now the way I have it set up now is before you start your run, they have you set a goal of distance.
Oh, right.
I think I'm not mistaken, I believe you can change it to a time distance, which
you don't have to set a goal though. I realize.
Yeah, you can, but if you it'll just go with your last goal then.
No, I've had it where it doesn't. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Which actually is I prefer, but
yeah. Well, so that's the thing.
Now
that that's set up, I didn't realize you can change it so there's no goal, but I have been using that as goals to get my distance in that I need to get in, and it'll tell me my half points. So if I want to do a half marathon today, I would set it for the half marathon distance, which is, I usually set 3.15, which is technically slightly over a half marathon.
13? You mean 13 point?
Yeah, what did I say? 13 point. Yeah, 13.15, which I think a half marathon is 13.11.
Okay.
So it's barely 0.04 over, which is minimal.
Right.
It's negligent. It doesn't even matter. But that way I can, when I go out, and then I can know when to turn around and come back. So I've been using it for that. But typically, no, I just go out and run and just... and same thing there, I go for time usually.
Okay.
So I'm that's why it helps me pace too, because if I'm I like to try to fit my workouts and exercises into time slots. So I have 2 kids, so my wife, and I want to spend time with them. I want to train martial arts. I want to do other things. So it's all right, I have this amount of hours in my day.
That makes sense.
So it's not like if I want to run a marathon and I'm having a bad day, or half marathon rather, I'm having a bad day, it's going to take me over 2 hours.
Right.
But if I'm having a good day, it could take me an hour 45.
Are you running every single day, by the way?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm taking days off.
Okay.
I probably won't really run this next week, maybe
Right.
like a mile here and there, but I'm not planning on doing long distances.
Yeah.
I think maybe a 5K will probably be the longest I'll do in this next week.
Yeah.
Get my legs some needed rest. I'll probably do more like squats and like calf raises and stuff like that in this next week coming up. Just like build some better strength in my legs.
Yeah, I've been doing the toe strike thing more, and I've definitely noticed my knees are hurting way less. And actually, I haven't really dealt with knee pain in a while. And like when I was running on the treadmill before all this, I was definitely dealing with that. Granted, I was also running in like shoes that I had been wearing for like 2 years or 3 years or something.
Oh yeah.
But no, I love the idea of like training for a big goal like that. I've never done anything like super crazy, but
this is by far the craziest thing ever. This is like this is the pinnacle of craziness.
Yeah.
And it's also like I have this adrenaline, but I also have the adrenaline is definitely based around fear. But it's also like this fear, like part of the fear is like, am I not mentally strong enough to do this thing that I said I can set out to do? I don't know if I could do it. I'm just like telling myself, yeah, you have to do this.
It is so much of a mental game too.
Yeah.
How did you like choose your route? Are you going with stuff that you're familiar with? Or?
No. I mean, places that I've been before, but I'm not necessarily familiar with.
Do you think it's like more fun to do a new place, or like what's easier? Like
typically, yeah. So if I'm thinking about running like a 5K, it's definitely funner to run in a new place because I can actually enjoy my scenery.
Right,
but I have sometimes when I run, especially when I'm going for longer distance, I like to just like I almost like stare at my feet and watch how I'm striking and try to like look at like visualize my mechanics and all that stuff. Everything else is kind of I put like those horse blinders on. I'm just kind of like tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And just get through the motions and make sure my So one thing that I wasn't doing for a while, which I recently started doing because honestly because baseball came back and the Mets suck, but whatever, is I've been listening to baseball games while I run, and I usually don't listen to anything.
I was gonna ask, yeah, okay.
But I have been now. Even if there's no baseball games, I've still been putting my headphones in and listening to something. Wu-Tang is one of my go-tos that I listen to. Wu-Tang and Stickman. If you don't know who Stickman is, he has a couple albums, and they're called The Workout. That's the name of the album, is The Workout.
Do you not listen to music because of like? Is that like the David Goggins thing? That's the guy, right?
No.
Okay.
But I have been listening. I have followed him for quite a while, but I've been actually paying more attention to him. No and yes. I didn't get that philosophy from him, but it's like so a lot of people use it as a crutch.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it can be a distraction, like listening to them so focused on what's happening in my ear space that I'm not paying attention to my mechanics.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
That's the reason why I do. So most of my injuries in martial arts have been from teaching, and it's because I'm teaching a technique, but I'm not focused necessarily 100% on what I'm doing. I'm focusing on the audience, my students in front of me, and I'll slip up and do something that's like, even like I remember. It was something simple like a push-up or a plank or like something, or pull-up or something. I forgot what it was, but I was showing someone how to do it, and then I like looked to the side to like look at them, and like I tweaked my back or something. I forgot exactly what it was, but it was because I broke my own mechanics to look at the person and look and correct the person that I was working with.
Okay. Huh.
So, I mean that's just my own thing that I have to deal with, but sometimes when I have headphones in, I like get lost in the music or like
right. But
sometimes it can also be like a extra push. Like if I have like some like like Wu-Tang. That's why I like Wu-Tang, because they have like a lot of like hardcore songs.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like, all right, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah, it's. I feel like it almost makes sense to like not listen to music until like the second half or something.
It was like, yeah, like listening to like power ballads from like Rocky,
Yeah.
Rocky montages. But yeah, so, yeah, that's why I don't listen to music yet. I believe, I could be completely wrong, but I think what David Goggins' theory is that people use music as a crutch.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, I find it a distraction. So I don't not use it because it's like I'm trying to be tougher. I use it because actually it would be tougher for me to listen to music. So that would be if I were to use Goggins' theory, I would have to reverse that on myself.
No, I've actually noticed not quite for that same reason, but sometimes I do notice like I usually run with music, but sometimes when I don't, it's almost easier. And I don't know. I feel like whenever I get into like a routine in terms of like what I'm listening to or the route I'm taking, it can almost seem more tedious. But sometimes I'll like just run the same path because I'm familiar with it.
Yeah.
But it's like if I listen to a song, I know how much time there is in that song, and then I'm like, oh man, I'm only like halfway through the song, and it actually ends up not helping. Like,
yeah. Sometimes like especially when I do like running on the road, it's like if I'm running down a street and I run down that street so many different times, I know like this part of the street is this, the sidewalk is crooked right here. There's like usually gravel at this spot, so I need to like be extra careful. They're doing road work over here, so I need to like get out of the way or like, so that part of running on street is, I feel like running that same route every time, but like running in trails, like I like to switch it up.
Yeah.
But that's also for shorter runs. This will be one of the first times I'm doing like a long run, besides the first time I do a long run, that I'm like gonna go on a basically brand new path. Like it's not something I'm super familiar with.
There's an aspect of that is really appealing to me, and it has nothing to do with the running. But it's the idea of like going on a really long continuous journey that is like connecting all these different spots.
Yeah.
I don't know, like that's kind of the appeal I find with like backpacking or like going on a road trip or whatever. But
or Lord of the Rings or
yeah. But it's just interesting to like see all these different parts of the city, but by foot.
Yeah.
Instead of just like getting in a car where you're like basically portaling from one area to the next.
Yeah.
But,
I mean that's a similar way to like the subway or like driving in the city.
Yeah.
It's like when you get on the subway system, it's like you get out of the station and then you're like off on the other side, versus like cycling. I did a lot of cycling when I lived in New York, and it's you get to see the city a lot. I was gonna say cleaner, but then I thought about it's like not clearer, I guess. But even that is not that clear, not a clear city. But you get what I'm saying. It's like you get to see more of the city and how it's actually put together.
Mm-hmm.
But then sometimes you have to go back and look. For me, as far as that goes, go look at how that subway system is actually built, and just think about I'm here, transported, and I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
Just think about the route that actually, like the whole construction of that and how that's set up. But
yeah. So one question, so like back in 2017, me and my friends were hiking up Mount Whitney, which is like, I think it's technically the tallest mountain in the lower 48. I don't think it's the hardest mountain to climb or to hike really, but we were training to do that, and it was going to be like a lot of uphill, and this was like not long after me, my cousin, and my brother had been in Japan, and we like summited a smaller mountain there. But we had like heavy packs, and it was really hard. So I was like really preparing myself for this. I was like working out every day. I started doing like every other day I was doing like 10 to 11 minutes of Stairmaster after my run, stuff like that. And so one thing is like I really love the idea of like training towards a goal like that and just really pushing yourself like a few months out. But then afterwards, like I was like, okay, I should like keep up with this Stairmaster habit. And then but then I was like, no, it's not happening. And I feel like that's like how I would take tests in school. Like I would just cram for a test.
Yeah.
And, like, but like, do you think this is gonna be Like, do you think you'll carry any of this over?
I think I'll probably go back to just like running 5Ks. I'm being completely honest. I don't plan to. It takes like training for this takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And I want to dedicate my time to other things.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So honestly, I'll probably just go back to running like. But now I feel like 5Ks will be just like something I could just do. Before it was like, all right, I have to push myself to run this 5K.
Yeah, that's true.
So, if anything, I feel like I achieved that. So, my runs won't be pushes as far as, like we were talking about earlier. You have to push yourself to that next. I feel like if I can complete this.
Your minimum was your old maximum.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think that's almost partly why sometimes I think about how fun it would be to like compete in a martial arts tournament is less the competition itself and more just like the period beforehand where you're really pushing yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're really interested in training, we can look at some stuff. I don't know what style of like would you like a karate tournament or like a
maybe I don't know if I'm gonna go like full on MMA or anything, but
but I mean I don't know any of the rules for that stuff. But I have to go look at rules even for MMA. I don't know necessarily the rules for amateur MMA or karate or taekwondo or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, different swai chow or whatever kind of stuff they have. But yeah, I mean, if you guys are interested, I know Ali is definitely interested in competing. But
for sure.
So another thing I actually want to talk about is like going forward, like doing podcasting stuff. I had some ideas, or I have an idea that I want to pitch to you and tell me what you think about it.
Sure.
And the idea is just like the martial arts student.
Oh, okay.
And I have like a lot of martial arts podcasts and YouTube channels, and every once in a while they'll interview someone of a different discipline or what. I only want to do interviews of people from whatever it doesn't matter what discipline they are.
Yeah.
And kind of how I mean, it might end up being something completely different even if this happens to be a thing. But what I want to do is start. That's why earlier I was looking up Kempo and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I want to look at start from America because we're in America and like trace martial arts backwards.
That's
and
awesome.
I had this idea that like at one point like going back to the art that I trained was Wing Chun.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was like, wait, I can get there real easy starting in America. Super an American-born American citizen that trained the art. That is one generation of Jeet Kune Do. Everyone like he's so synonymous with China, but he's American.
Yeah.
He was born in the States.
Yeah.
So, but
no, it's funny because I was literally just talking with my cousin about how if I were more qualified, I would love to do a show. And I guess this is not the most original idea because shows like this kind of exist, but a show where like we travel different countries and then train in those different martial arts. I'm not nearly qualified in any way, like in terms of knowledge or like physical ability, but
the way I was looking at it is not to like comparative at all.
Okay,
and that's why the first thing I said the martial arts student.
Yeah. Okay.
So whoever we interview is just like,
oh, not like a expert, but a student. Is
that I'm the student.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I'm not like Wing Chun does this, but you
no,
do that.
Yeah.
Not even like on a machismo way, or not even like on a whatever kind of humble-ish way that you can say like Wing Chun does this, but you guys just like
just
whatever. Pure student.
Yeah.
So if you talk to someone Jeet Kune Do, I wouldn't say but in
right.
Just 100% just absorb what they're trying to teach.
I do like the idea of like the history aspect though, because
I mean history and like just like whatever the guest wants to talk about.
Yeah.
Obviously history and take the roots back, but also like if I can get someone to teach me something, and the part of the reason I was also thinking about this is that will be a great opportunity to be able to travel and do martial arts while you're traveling. So it's like my two favorite things.
Yeah.
My one favorite thing was something else that I really, really enjoy. So, or I guess two other things that I really enjoy, like this whole setup, like interviewing and
for
chatting and whatever. But
it would be so cool to like, because we were talking about Kalari Paiute the other day.
Yeah.
And that's to me is something really fascinating just because it doesn't get a lot of attention.
Yeah, no, not at all. Well, it does, but no one realizes it because I think one of the most popular things one of the most popular workouts in at least the States is not BJJ. It is yoga.
Yeah.
Yoga is like king. And that came from that same kind of idea of body mechanics and they have terms like warrior like I don't know what they translate to in Sanskrit, but it's
this is a slight tangent, but it's interesting because I was watching that same Kalari video again, and they like very clearly lay out that like one of the aspects of training is doing these like exaggerated movements.
Yeah.
And I feel like nowadays with traditional martial arts, people, I think the interpretation is that like forms are literally, at least from an outside view, people think like, oh, the forms are how they're supposed to fight, but it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But it's like they lay it out so clearly there, and it's like,
yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, even if you look at like Sunum Sao, which is our first form in Wing Chun, you have like one of the first moves is the Tan Sao, the hand up movement, and the idea is to literally bring your elbow all the way to the center.
Yeah.
But the way you would use that, if you did this all the way, you're already collapsed.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be functionable. So
I like that idea though. That's
100%. Like you want to like even boxing, they have the speed bag. No one boxes up here, like above their head, or even at
what
the
does
face.
the speed bag do anyway? Like, is it just building those muscles?
Rotate, like movement.
That's cool.
It's exaggerating.
So, you think you would start out with Jeet Kune Do, you said, with this?
I don't know, but I mean that would be fun.
Yeah.
And I know one person I could probably approach is Sean.
Oh yeah.
From the Kung Fu Genius, and I think he has I haven't watched it or listened to it yet, but I think he has a new podcast or YouTube channel. Something he was talking about on the Kung Fu Genius podcast, or not Kung Fu Genius, the Dudes of Kung Fu. Sorry, check both of those out, Kung Fu Genius and Dudes of Kung Fu. But they were talking about Dudes of Kung Fu, the Jeet Kune Do.
Oh, the Blueprint.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he started producing those already.
Yeah, I think those are like extras on their Patreon.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he didn't do his own thing. It's still on
well, maybe he did. I don't know.
Fu.
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just blew myself up, and I'm not a Patreon supporter. But you should definitely be a Patreon supporter of both of those. You can edit that part out. No, you can leave. I don't care. But
it would be cool also to, I don't know, like, to have like a video portion. Just because, like, I don't know, when we started Adventure Archives, the idea was like, oh, we could just do a travel show ourselves. So I feel like eventually getting to a point where it's also like a video in addition to the podcast would be kind of cool.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we can also do like a whatever this is that I'm talking about, and Adventure Archives collide, and
That'd be
like
cool.
do like a crossover. Just because, I mean, if we're traveling and we
yeah
do whatever,
that'd be awesome.
But I don't know. My thing is, I mean, I'm definitely into martial arts, so like
Yeah.
that's where I would want to venture out. But I don't know. What do you think?
I like it. a
Okay.
lot. Yeah. Also, if I get to benefit from hearing other people.
Yeah, I figured you'd be into it for that alone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would want to work with you whether you wanted to be a contributor or just a producer or like whatever. I mean, I think it would be cool if you were a contributor as well.
I'd be down. This is only marginally related, but I was thinking earlier about like practice and how practice works. And I feel like whenever I'm learning like skills in Wing Chun, I don't know. Maybe you have more thoughts on this, but like I always get the idea that if I'm not constantly practicing, I'm gonna like be sliding backwards and losing these skills. But at the same time, I also feel like there's other skills I've picked up where it's kind of like learning how to ride a bike, where once you learn how to do it,
yeah, well,
it's kind of
I feel like that's why I went back.
Okay.
To the beginning of the system, or the beginning of the teaching, not the beginning of the system, beginning of the teaching program, the training program, is because I learned how to ride a 2-wheeler, but now I want to like ride a 10-speed and like get some speed under it.
Okay. Yeah, so it's like, because I've noticed things that I had trouble with when we were doing them in class, I suddenly felt like a lot better at them, but then there's also so much more to refine.
Oh, that's always gonna like you're always gonna be like, yeah, I got this, and then try something else, and it's like, oh, but that's like your learning curve. You have this thing, and I believe it's in one of the books, the student handbooks, or somewhere written down somewhere, and maybe it's in the Sunam Tao book, but my Sifu has, it's like the levels of training. If you first learn something and you want to work on it, you're going to work on it with someone that's a little less skilled than you, so you can get away with it.
Okay.
And then if you want to try something out, you try it with somebody that's more skilled than you, and like that way you can see if you can actually execute that thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But if you're just learning it, you don't want to try it with someone who's already more skilled than you. You're gonna feel you're gonna fail.
Yeah.
Because they already know that, and they're gonna just say, whatever, I can shut that. Then they have another trick that they're working, like something else that they're. It's like trying to learn a brand new technique and trying to execute it in jiu-jitsu.
Right.
And you're like a white belt and trying to execute it on a black belt, and he's not letting you do it.
Yeah.
But if you're a blue belt and you're practicing that technique you just learned on a white belt, you could probably get away with it like at least 70 to 80% of the time.
Yeah.
And if you're learning it, if you're training that thing you just learned with someone who's at your same, who also just learned it, it's just gonna look like a soup of garbage.
It is really funny how practice is like such a non-linear thing. I brought this up earlier, but like I feel like there's moments where you just suddenly really grasp something like out of nowhere, and then there's moments where you just feel like you don't know anything, and it's like sometimes they happen at the same time, but yeah, it's not a linear process for sure.
No.
But
yeah. I also did want to. I didn't want, like, before we were talking about doing suds and buds, whatever.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a fun thing to do, but I wouldn't want that to be like an everyday. Like, I haven't drank any alcohol this whole month.
I don't think I have either, actually. Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to be like, all right, I have to go to work and get drunk. I mean, it would be a fun thing to do here and there, like some like fillers every once in a while. But not as like a job. I don't want to get drunk as a job.
Yeah, I want drinking to remain something I do for fun.
For sure. So yeah, I mean, I think it's something that could be fun to do, but not as like a.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's I don't know. It's weird. It's like I used to really enjoy drinking, and not like getting drunk, but just like the tipsiness.
Yeah.
But even that now is like, it's like my nose gets stuffy sometimes when I drink too much.
Oh, this is the worst for me right now. The weather is great, but also like I don't know if I've been sniffing throughout this whole thing, but I'm like congested always like fall since I moved to Ohio.
Because there's like actual vegetation. Or?
Well, that, and I think there's just different pollen.
Yeah.
Even like when I first moved here, I was congested, and then we went up to Michigan, and I was like, I couldn't breathe. I was so just because there's different.
Were you like in more rural?
I was in Grand Rapids.
Okay.
So I don't know.
I've never been there, but I know of it. But
I don't even know what's near there. That whole trip was miserable. I was just like,
Michigan is definitely where you start seeing some different types of trees and flora and stuff.
So, but and then this year with the pandemic, it's like if I sneeze or cough, everyone
you're like,
what
is that?
Right, get away from me. But
Yeah, I feel like a sneeze is like a shotgun blast now.
yeah, for sure.
I've heard that in cities, like, sometimes they'll only plant male trees.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. So
they're just like super horny trees.
so down in German Village, there's I think it's a ginkgo tree or something.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking
Oh
about.
my, my face just turns red.
Yeah. They smell bad too. Those are edible though, the
are
little
they?
seeds. Yeah, I've seen like, because I think they sell those at like the Chinese market, but I've seen international students like collecting those.
Yeah, it's so like my face just gets red. I get congested, but not super congested. I just get itchy.
Yeah,
when I'm
yeah.
around that tree.
You know, that tree is like one of the oldest trees in terms of like evolution, and apparently it's kind of like a living fossil, I think. And I've heard that they found like a bunch of those at like Buddhist monasteries in China originally.
I think that tree in the city of Columbus, at whatever park that is one of the oldest trees
Oh, wow.
alive in Columbus.
Dang.
And it didn't start here. It was brought over as
okay.
already a tree.
So like they planted it as a sapling.
Yeah, I think not even a sapling.
Oh, okay.
Like, I mean, not like a huge tree that is now, but like when are trees not saplings anymore?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was like already like somewhat an adult tree,
Okay.
but not huge.
The adolescent tree.
Yeah. A moody teenager.
Interesting.
But yeah, to have allergies during pandemics is like,
Yeah. Oh man, I'm just waiting for all this to be over. It's like I feel like every day is a constant reminder of like everything bad in the world. But
yeah, it's definitely a weird. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have this thing in my head. It's like this can't last forever. But then I'm like, but can it? But maybe it can last forever. I mean, maybe we never get a vaccine and.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think eventually, like, things have to dwindle down, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we just have to, like, I don't know, adapt. We don't get a vaccine in, like, 5 years. Our body has to mutate to, like.
Yeah, yeah. We'll just all become ninjas.
Yeah, exactly. Wearing little masks and.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So my grandfather, I guess that must have been about 10 years ago, he went and did like a caravan with the Bedouin.
Oh,
and
right.
he learned that turbans, the origins of turbans, or an origin of turban was like for these nomadic tribes. They would go through like the desert and they would find like a well, and it would be basically dried up. So they would, you can use it to like protect yourself from the sun beating down on you all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you get to this well, you can unwrap your turban. That's why there's this huge piece of cloth on your head, and you can unwrap it and like soak up water and suck on the turban. And that was like, but now it's like a religious symbol. And I feel like that's going to become with surgical masks. It was like, in the year 2020, God said to like cover your face, and if not,
like
you're a
ninja
sin.
monks,
Yeah,
like-
it's like you're a sinner if you don't cover your like. It's gonna turn into something that we're over the
You
pandemic.
should start that religion. Just start a ninja cult.
ninja. I don't know what I would call it, but yeah.
That's actually that's like a survival technique. Is if you're like in a place with not a lot of moisture,
Yeah.
you can like have long pants and just walk through like a field with morning dew and then like squeeze it out of your pants.
So, okay.
I don't know. That was your uncle, you said?
My grandfather.
Your grandpa?
Yeah.
He just based on that story, it reminds me of this dude that we met in the Grand Tetons, which is like mountains just south of Yellowstone. But we
Yeah.
met this like mountain man living in a cabin who at that time was like a volunteer ranger, but he had been, I think he worked for like the Geological Service and like had lived all around the world.
Yeah.
But he told us a story of like being in the mountains in northern India, like in the Himalayas, and they went to this like super isolated valley, and they met these like groups of people who were dressed like ancient Greeks or ancient Romans or something.
Yeah.
And they had like the pleated skirts and stuff, and apparently they actually were like descended from Alexander the Great, like when the empire stretched that far, and they just were so isolated in this valley. And he said this like traditional, maybe it was Greek, I forget, but he said this traditional like Greek greeting, like Jesua or something, which means like Jesus.
Yeah.
And they didn't even know who that was because they had originally migrated there before that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's
Well, even if you look at like feng shui,
yeah.
it's like you don't put like, now it's like all like I don't know what the word is, but it's like you don't put water by wood because of some, I don't know, reason, but the original reason is because you don't want your wood to warp.
Right. Yeah, it'll get like moldy and warm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's things like at least my understanding of it is like you don't want your desk or your bed like facing away from the door.
Yeah.
And it's because like your back is turned to the entrance, and and
It's like it was all practical stuff. Now it's just like some pseudo like, it's like yoga.
yeah.
Like yoga turned into like, yoga used to be like a practical stretching system for warrior monks or whatever.
Same with like chi, probably, right?
Yeah.
Like it was just a way of understanding things.
Yeah, I feel like you have chi and you have the Indians have like the different what are they called?
Oh, the chakras.
The chakras. Yeah. I don't know how true this is, but I've heard theories that the chakras are in line with the glands. So like you have your pineal or not pineal. That's
pineal,
pineal gland. Your all the different glands and the chakras all in line with all those different glands.
That's interesting.
And then you have like sub chakras that are like, I don't know, your veins or whatever, like your major organs as well.
Yeah.
But the main chakras that if you go look up chakra, those however many 7, 8 chakras line up with your 7 or 8 glands.
It's interesting to think about all of that, like traditional medicine and stuff, because on the one hand, I think sometimes we need to be like more open-minded about that sort of thing, and like consider that there might be alternatives to like very scientific Western medicine.
Well, I think here's my theory is that the same thing happened to a lot of traditional medicine. Like they had the same ideas as Western medicine.
Yeah.
It's just it turned into some like hocus pocus spooky thing, and it's like they're not the same thing as like yoga and like all of it's like they're not actually looking at what it originally was. They're just looking at like, oh, this is some mystical whatever, just the surface of it. And
it's funny because by like mystifying it, they almost make it less complex.
That's 100%. Yeah. Exactly. It's like, oh, this is just like some boogie woogie.
Yeah, it's actually much easier to like conceptualize things that way.
Yeah.
And it takes away from the intricacies of it. But yeah.
I don't know. Even like if you look at like Celtic tribes and stuff, and like their understanding of like plants and like, but now it's like they're witches. So like it's just their blanket witch.
Right.
But they could probably actually heal your wound with like some tree that they boiled down. But I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, what is science if not just like an extension of all that?
Yeah.
With,
100%. Yeah.
It's funny because like with vaccine stuff, like like anti-vaccine people, I think they like view it as like, oh, this is this like technological scientific thing. But when I first learned about vaccines as a kid, I was like, this is amazing. It's like using your own natural body's processes. Like you could frame it in either way.
Penicillin.
Yeah. It's just like a mold from a fungus. Right?
Somebody like trying to get high on shrooms or something. Like, oh, I'm not sick anymore. No, I think it's I mean, because what's even in penicillin, it's like the chemical compound of that plant is what's activating your own body to like do whatever. It's the same thing. It's just a lot of vaccines. Like the flu vaccine is grown on eggshells.
Huh. I didn't know that.
So how can that not be a bio? I think people think of it as just like only that because it is a chemical reaction. They think, oh, it's chemistry.
Yeah.
This other thing that's not part of.
Yeah, there's such a dichotomy where it's like as soon as you explain something scientifically, it no longer becomes mysterious. But it's like, it's all just a way to conceptualize it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, I mean,
I think easily put is there's nothing new under the sun. It's always been there. It's
exactly.
always been there. There's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
Or even beyond the sun. There's
just
nothing
because
new.
our understanding of it changed doesn't mean it changed.
Yeah.
Like, I consider myself like a vaguely spiritual person, and like, I think there's a lot of like
spiritual. It's like the spirit is like a ghost.
But there's so much mystery and wonder out there, and it's like when you're out camping and you're looking at like the Milky Way in the sky, the fact that you understand that it's a galaxy and that all those bits of light are stars doesn't make it any less like incredible, right? So
yeah, I mean, it's more incredible that it's not just like but it's like a burning. It's like in the middle of nothing. There's all this helium or whatever that star happened to be made out of, or hydrogen. Hydrogen, helium. I don't know. Whatever. Who cares at this point? It's just that all that stuff came together, and it came together like it's so compacted together that it's making itself burn on top of itself.
Yeah, like
what?
That's unbelievable. that's cooler than it just being like a few dots poked in a blanket or whatever.
Yeah. But that, like, think about trying to press your hands together and you create heat, and then you press it so hard together that they just combust and they become like, that's essentially what a star is.
Yeah. Oh man. I think that's the thing is I probably said this last time, but like when I first joined or started Kung Fu, I thought that a lot of the like parlor tricks that like Buddhist monks would do were like real. And the reason was because to me, doing like several backflips or like an incredible like 360 degree tornado kick, whatever, like that's just as incredible to me as like being able to like bend a spear with your neck.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like that's a lot of the issues in the world. It's like there are things out there that are so unbelievable that it's then easy to believe things that are actually not true. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah, everything's fake news. Who cares? it's all fake news. Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. How much time do you have left?
I mean, whatever, but I mean, can start wrapping it up.
Yeah.
I need a sign off.
Yeah, we need to think of a way to close this out.
That's it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Good stuff today.
Yeah. Well, thanks for everyone for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Hopefully the video didn't go out.
Yeah, and also what I didn't want to plug is I'm going to figure out how to live stream my run. So if I don't do it on my own Instagram, you can follow me at Uncle_Jose, spelled HOZAY, or Columbus Kung Fu on Instagram, and I'll have links for both of those. However we decide, wherever we decide, whether it be YouTube or Instagram, there'll be a link to find the live stream for that. And obviously, I don't expect you to watch the whole 40 miles of it, but you can. And I'm thinking of also doing a live donation page on there, so people can donate to whatever mystery charity I decide to donate. I'll post whatever charity is going to be before you donate, but whatever charity I decide to do this for, still figuring that out. I don't know.
Hopefully somebody donates, because that sounds excruciating.
I mean, if they don't, whatever. I'm not doing it for the donation. Right. I'm just doing it because I'm an idiot and I want to push myself past death. So,
are you gonna have to get new shoes after this? Like,
after this? Well, that was a thing I was actually contemplating, is if I should buy new shoes before, but I decided not to, even though I probably,
because you'd have to like break them in too.
Yeah. So although the shoes I've been running in aren't, they're completely synthetic. So there's like not like leather shoes where you really have to break them in. They're really lightweight. So I probably could have, but I just didn't, because there's still a little bit of breaking I would have had to do. And my shoe, the only reason I have a bunch of miles on these shoes, I just got them this year, but it was to do this run. So that's where all the miles started coming in.
Okay.
But anyways.
Damn. Good luck. Thanks everyone for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe, and then follow those Instagram pages, which I'll probably put in the description. And then,
right on. Yeah, awesome.
Cool. See ya.
Later.